So we mentioned the episode that we lost entirely, right?
Yeah, this is what it felt like.
This is giving me like flashbacks, giving me PTSD. Which is actually, that sounds like a really bad thing to say after the whole war talk.
Yeah, let's have another
PTSD.
moment of silence to transition.
Holy shit, the rain softened. Sorry.
Yo, I am God.
The rain softened as soon as you said, you did the parent things.
Oh, I'm crazy with it like that.
I am God.
I am God.
Yeah. Man.
So over the weekend, I went and saw The Batman. And I know you haven't yet, so I can't spoil it.
You can give a little non-spoiler review. Because I think by the time this episode actually comes out, I'll have watched it. So
yeah, so spoiler, but not spoiler.
Yeah.
Essentially, it was, and I had said this, it was probably one of my favorite superhero movies of this past year.
Post-pandemic.
Post-pandemic movies.
Okay, yeah.
It was great. I think that my real criticism of it is that at times it went long, and
it is like a 3-hour movie, right? Yeah.
It is a 3-hour movie, and I'm sure there could have been places where it could have gotten cut, but I also feel like it's so long for like artistic reason. Like there are so many parts where like I know why this is dragged out. If it wasn't already a 3-hour movie, this is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But since it is so much happening in this one movie, those parts that are drawn out for artistic purpose just add to the runtime. You feel fatigued, but you understand why, if that makes sense.
So it's pretty packed, right?
It's pretty packed in. I think all the characters are great. I think that Robert Pattinson did a great job.
Mm-hmm.
I think her name's Zoe Kravitz.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No, let me take a second.
Mm-hmm.
Let me take a second. I even
she-
told Meg
she's on
right
the list.
afterwards.
She's on the
She's on the list. I told Megan right afterwards. I was like, she is fine as fuck. And Meg was like, yes, she is. So it was cool, you know, like we agreed. No, she is crazy, but she also did a great job.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that her story was really interesting, and I'll get into other mixed reviews later.
Okay.
But she was great. The villains that were in there were great.
Mm-hmm.
I found it really interesting because it felt very old-timey, but at the same time modern. Because you have social media and you have these smartphones, but at the same time, like, he's wearing suits that looked very, like, 50s, 60s Batman-esque.
Mm-hmm.
He's driving vintage cars, but behind him.
The city itself is behind, but...
It's like this weird mix of, like, vintage and new stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a point where Bruce Wayne is driving, like, a vintage car, but it could be explained as, oh, he just likes vintage cars or something, because then the car behind him is like a brand new Mercedes.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes him look like that timeless old kind of Batman while still being in a modern world. I know people hate the whole cowl showing a lot of his jawline. I think it just looks like a more dramatic version of what we're just used to.
Yeah.
Instead of it cutting out like right here, it just cuts back a little bit
If you think about it in universe, it's just like maybe Bruce just wanted to show off that sick jawline.
Yeah, honestly, like he had the jawline, he had to show it. You know what I'm saying? But no, to be fair, I haven't seen any of the other Batman movies, and maybe that's like a problem.
Really?
I haven't seen any of the Dark
Christian
Knight.
Bale. None of those.
I haven't seen any of that. I haven't even seen the Michael Keaton.
I mean, that's a little more acceptable, but like,
yeah,
the Dark Knight trilogy
was so big.
Yeah.
You know,
You gotta get on that, man.
I have to go back and watch it. Especially when I talked about Joker, I don't know if I touched on the same thing, but I couldn't really make the Heath Ledger comparison because I hadn't really seen it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but, man, I don't want to spoil it too much. It was great overall. It's definitely a movie you should see.
Mm-hmm.
There's no post-credit, but there is a final scene that gives some sneak peeks into what comes soon.
Okay.
And it gives me conflicting feelings because it's something that's exciting, but also
Maybe you just wanted it to be like a one-off.
not necessarily a one-off, but it's something is hinted at that I think was good, but it was a little maybe disappointing for me personally because I had gotten my hopes up, I think.
Okay.
But basically, after this, there will be more to come.
A little tease that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think I wouldn't. I mean,
Yeah.
I think I can kind of understand where this is going, but
Once
I
you
don't want
see
to
it, we can give
confirm-
the spoiler review.
I don't want to confirm or deny what it could or couldn't be.
Yeah.
So I'll leave it
Um,
at that. Yeah.
so then on the outside, I guess there's been a lot of conversation because, as per usual, when you change something in comics or in a comic book story, a lot of old white dudes get mad.
Hmm.
And that's what happened with this movie. Because
Change in general makes old white dudes mad.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Zoe Kravitz, I believe she's mixed,
Hmm.
and she's Catwoman, and she was talking about how she actually auditioned for Dark Knight Rises, I think.
Hmm.
And they told her that she couldn't because they said the term she's too urban.
Mm.
And for this movie, it was a big deal for her because she finally got to play that role. And she did kind of point out at the time, like in that point in her career, like how disheartening that would be to be told, like, you can't play a role because of your race. Like, it's kind of like a sad story to hear, and it is nice to see that she finally got that ability to play.
Yeah.
And in the movie, there was a line where she says, like, we should take on these, like, white privilege assholes.
Cool.
Talking
I'm
about
sure-
some of the rich, like, white villains and all that.
I'm sure that won't get a rise out of some people.
It already did. And people have been, like, memeing the dude who did say it, but there's, I guess, a movie reviewer who was like, it was just a little, like, woke left, like, most of Hollywood leaning. It just,
Gotcha.
he was like, there were only, like, 2 good white guys in the movie.
And all the other ones were bad. And
Yeah.
Just like,
It's like, well, I mean,
I
maybe
think
there's
I've
a
seen
reason.
that,
Yeah. I thought the movie was great, and I thought that it was just funny to see that kind of reaction come out of people. It's kind of the same thing where when they announce, like, oh, Superman's son is bi.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, oh, why are they making Superman woke left or whatever? And
Yeah.
that's always just a dumb argument to hear. Like you said, people just don't like to hear change, especially when they're the ones in power and they know that change kind of hurts them in some way, or their image, their way of life.
It doesn't hurt them. It hurts their ego.
Yeah.
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 So.
It was fun to see people get butthurt over.
Man, I thrive off negativity.
Yeah. Always. I just love to see people upset and angry.
Yeah.
Man, I'm starting to sound like a Batman villain.
Yeah. Well, you got the white part down, so yeah. You just need to stick with it for until you're like.
No, I feel
60.
like if I put on those clear hipster glasses, I'd look. And maybe if I shave, I could look like the Riddler.
Really?
Maybe a little bit. He just kind of has that like chunky, like bland face. You know what I'm saying?
Chunky, bland face.
I don't know if that's a spoiler. I don't think that's a spoiler.
That's my new band name.
Oh my god, I'm sick of you.